Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Singapore Computer Society's webinar on delivering business through diversity. My name is Grace Chung. I'm a writer and a member of IMDA's Singapore Women in Tech initiative, and I'm actively involved in the curation of the Singapore Women in Tech list. Diverse opinions in business discussions bring different experiences and perspectives to problem solving. So our discussion today focuses on the business issue, the business case, more women, better business. So the discussion today will give a perspective on how to take action on diversity to impact growth and business performance. Then we'll take the discussion one step further to identify the job opportunities emerging in the next 12 months and how women can take advantage of those opportunities. For the webinar today, we have three panelists. Our fourth, the very special Rose, Mr. Dan Beavers, is unable to join us today. Dan is the President Asia Pacific of Vodafone Business. He is unwell and he apologizes. We wish him speedy and a safe recovery. So in the program today, we'll have a discussion about 40 minutes, followed by Q&A from the audience. But to kick off, I would like to introduce the panelists. All the women champion gender diversity in their organizations, as well as in the larger Singapore Women in Tech community. So let me welcome Li Chu. Li Chu, wave to us so that we know who you are. Yes, Li Chu is Managing Director, ASEAN, Worldwide Public Sector for Amazon Web Services. She's also the President of the Singapore Computer Society's Women in Tech chapter. Next, we have Jamie. Hi, Jamie. She's the Director of Engineering at HP Inc. Then Gladys Chun is the General Counsel of Lazada Group. These are very experienced corporate executives as well as involved in gender diversity programs in their organizations for a long time. So we are very fortunate to have all of them with us today. Before we start the discussion, I would like to invite Li Chu to give us a background to the issue we are discussing today, how gender diversity helps companies deliver business growth. Li Chu?
Thank you so much, Grace, and it's really an honor and a pleasure to be here, with my distinguished panelists and to discuss this very important and critical topic. Well, first of all, as we think about digital skills and diversity and the role that women play in technology, we know and, we are obviously all in the thick of it. We all, know that as we look at digital transformation across organizations and also in our nation, there are researchers that have looked at the need for these digital skills, and AWS or Amazon Web Services did one not too long ago. And in fact, in that research, we view that we have about 2.2 million digital workers in Singapore, and that represents about 63% of our workforce. And obviously, women being a big part of that. Women also would contribute greatly to the fact that Singapore will need 1.2 million additional digital workers by 2025 to stay competitive. So Grace was talking about, what kind of skills would be required as we look into the next 4 to 5 years. The studies show up that, cloud architectural design, cybersecurity, software operations, game development, large-scale data modeling, those are the top 5 selected by survey respondents as being critical. So against the backdrop of digital skills being a key enabler to technology adoption, we want to discuss today, how and why diversity adds a different dimension that is critical to helping us in Singapore be competitive. So back to you, Grace.
Thanks, Li Chu. There have been many researchers, which Li Chu referred to by McKinsey, Bain, Boston Global Consulting Services. They all talk about how diversity has aided company growth. So we are linking diversity priorities to drive business growth. That is our main topic today. How do you design a truly effective diversity strategy for this kind of outcome? How would leadership have to act, and what goals must be articulated? Jamie, would you like to go first?
Yep, I can start. It helps from HP standpoint, our HP founders, Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, actually embrace diversity as part of HP way, because we know it drives innovation. So diversity, or rather we like to call it the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are fundamentals to HP culture, and is considered a business imperative, because we know that studies after studies have shown that diverse teams perform better than peers that lack diversity. I would say to design a effective strategy, we need a multi-pronged approach. We need companies, we need individuals, we need industry banding together that can help to move the needle. I'd like to share maybe just the first one at the company level. It helps to start from the top. And HP, we start off back in 2015 when we split. There was already a very active move to try to look for a diverse board of directors. And proud to say that the current board of directors have 55% total minorities, 51% women, and even our HP executive leadership team is made up of a diverse team. Other areas that can be driven from the top are company hiring processes, working closely with a talent acquisition team to ensure qualified female candidates are considered for all the technical roles. Making sure our leadership bench and succession pipeline is comprised of diverse candidates. And companies can also come up with programs to accelerate female leadership and strengthen the pipeline. Just to share a few, HP have programs like Catalyst. These are global programs, fast forward programs that really targets at women technologies and careers of women. They are like 9 to 15 months kind of a program with training, workshop, personalized 360 leadership assessment. And when we have the cohort, this is actually global. It encourages us to really not just interact at the local level, but at the global level, and also a one-to-one match sponsor. So 80 to 90% of the candidates actually find it really helps them. And also we have statistics to show that 40% of the participants actually get promoted or as performing a new role. So all this acceleration program does help. And I talk about individuals. Individuals can step up as well. Just to share, I participated and was an expo member of HP Women's Impact Network. This is a network that's built by employees for employees to provide women, men, an opportunity to drive programs that focus on belonging, innovation, and growth. I have personally benefited from such exchanges in the lunch and learn sessions, workshops, panel discussions on a range of topics like energy, time management, competence in workplace. Now it is about paying it forward and be an advocate for women and build one another's visibility. So by empowering more female leaders or more women leaders, we can be role models, sponsors, and mentors to support and bring the best of our female employees. And the third one, industry banding together like today's event to raise awareness, generate discussions, and sharing of best practice. So we really need to work hand in hand on a few areas to drive this.
Thank you, Jamie. So the multi-pronged approach is important. Leadership, individuals, companies, and the community must get together to do this. Very good. Gladys, what's your take on this?
Hi. I think first of all, thank you for this great opportunity to be sharing Lazada's diversity initiatives. And I'm so very honored to be amongst all the esteemed panelists. I think in terms of the age of our respective companies, I would say that Lazada is probably the youngest. And I'm very pleased to hear that what we're currently doing is accords to the industry best practice, and looks like all of us are doing amazing things to advance this topic forward. So I'm very confident to know that. Needless to say, I think both Li Chu and Jamie has emphasized the point over and over again that diversity equates to increased profitability. And with that, just like what HP has gone through as shared by Jamie, it's really critical for all of us to play an enabling role. How do we enable more women participation in the tech industry? I think for us, some of the themes are going to be quite similar. Probably the way that we run it may slightly differ, but as long as the participants who are listening to this webinar, you get a sense of the theme, it's actually not that difficult, right? Taking that first step. First is to ensure there is more equal access for both men and women, actually, to highly visible mission critical roles and international experiences is important. We need to be deliberate in our investment towards helping women colleagues, and also appointing highly qualified women to executive teams, boards, and C-suite roles. From the start, Lazada has prioritized an all-inclusive and supportive workplace that embraces diversity. Women's voice, active participation, and leadership has been essential to the success of Lazada today. At Lazada, one would think that as a shopping platform, women actually make up a huge percentage of our employee strength. About 40% of our employees are female. And our executive chairwoman, Lucy Peng, she's one of the original founders of Alibaba, is a role model to many, while more than 1/3 of our senior management colleagues are female. And for those of you who follow Jack, he has accredited his success to women. How women shop and how women has really fueled the economy, particularly the digital economy in the last 10 years, has been phenomenal. We've also have policies in place to set both men and women for success through our gender neutral panel interviewers for our promotion cycle, right? Any promotion cycle should be merit-based and not gender-based. This is in tandem with our commitment of ensuring that there are ample recruitment channel for reaching out to women to be part of a traditionally male-dominated space. I think we will cover that later on, Asian culture, how they are perceived biasness and role, which is why I would like to start off my session by sharing that we need to be intentional about not only the policies as well as the processes that we have in place. Similar to Jamie, we also have mentorship. Mentorship program, we kicked off a mentorship program last November with certification process for mentors to start with. While the mentorship program is not specific for women only, the 6 months program actually comprised of approximately 40% women mentors and 46% women mentees in our program. This has truly reflects a strong support network for women in our company. To that, Lazada is also a signatory to the IFC, Digital to Equal program, where we've committed to close the gender gaps by using e-commerce to increase women access to jobs and entrepreneurship. Now, why is mentorship important, right? The concept has been coined years ago, right? Why is mentorship, it's a critical turning point as we advance and push forward with enabling more women. Now, I feel that mentorship in itself benefits both men and women, right? It's just that the way that women connect and the way that the men connect are quite different. Mentorship is particularly important because it is a way to open up opportunities for women to connect. Now, boys traditionally have what I call the boys club, right? And the boys club offers a valuable asset for in terms of professional support, in terms of advancement, in terms of mentorship, and so much more. So similarly to a boys club, why should women not have a women's club, right? And this is highly valuable for women to be around like-minded individuals who may be going through similar experience. And our experiences and our challenges can be quite different to a man. And it's important to have that network of support while we overcome those challenges or while we navigate a male-dominated environment. So I strongly believe that a similar club for women is definitely worthwhile and useful for women in the workplace to help expand each other's horizons in the organization. Now, as an e-commerce company, the largest contributor to our ecosystem is going to be our sellers. And for us, I want to spend some time to talk about how tech and e-commerce have empowered women entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. With the steady acceleration and growth of e-commerce in Southeast Asia, and no thanks to COVID, we've basically moved everything offline to online, just like today's session. I would love to meet everyone face to face, but I guess you will have to deal with the virtual me today. There's been an increasing number of women business owners who have turned to digital economy. This is due to many reasons, right? COVID is one of them, but even without COVID, the convenience of starting a home business, the low barriers of entry, and also ease of registering a store online, as well as availability of services, solutions, know-how to grow a business has really accelerated the growth of women entrepreneurs. We have been long dedicated to empowering women, not just within our company, but also across wider ecosystem, including our sellers and also female drivers, right? Those delivery drivers who deliver the parcels to you after you place an order on our platform. Those are also a group of female entrepreneurs that we were trying to grow in our ecosystem. As an expansion of our commitment to gender equity, we've recently launched our inaugural Lazada Forward Women Awards to recognize female entrepreneurs across Southeast Asia who have demonstrated resilience and innovation over the past years. We wanted to create a platform not only to inspire, but also to call for action by showcasing their success stories, and hopefully with that, it will inspire more women and also different background women to choose a different path for themselves, right? And not get locked down by the cultural convention and perceived biasness. We empower small businesses to take control of the way that they build their business in a way that's such that it's innovative and also cost efficient, because we rely on technology to scale. Through this, we've seen many women have increasingly taken control of their careers by making the switch to become entrepreneurs in their own right. And within Southeast Asia, obviously, some cultures are still more conservative and traditional, but the key is really to instill confidence, right? We have to take baby steps in the right direction. We have to instill confidence in aspiring entrepreneurs by providing relevant education, training, information kit that will aid in the adoption of digitalization. So with that, I've sort of covered an additional aspect of, what roles we can play, not just individually by the company, and also broader across our ecosystem players.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Gladys. I think entrepreneurship, encouraging women entrepreneurs to come forward, I think that's very important, because many women have also been disadvantaged during the pandemic. So entrepreneurship is a good way for them to earn a living. Turning to you, Lee Chu, where would women be employed if they are to be considered contributing to the business growth? Is it a line versus a staff role? So where do you think they should be?
Yeah, $1 million question. But in reality, Grace, for many businesses, the ones that Gladys talked about, and Jamie and ourselves in AWS, because our customers are diverse, and having diverse teams with broad perspectives helps us to serve our customers better. And that means when you have that mental model, women can create a positive impact across the organization. So the question is really not, where can they make an impact, line versus staff roles, but how do we, embrace women with the opportunities that we have within each of our organizations, and be very deliberate, like Gladys mentioned, in supporting, nurturing, but also encouraging women to step forward. So in Amazon, we believe that with these diverse teams, it helps us to think bigger. It helps us to think differently about the products and services that we build for our customers. So, against that context, I would say that let's not confine ourselves to what kind of roles women can make an impact to, because, we can make an impact in wide-ranging ways, would be how I say it.
Okay, thank you. So it doesn't matter as long as you can make an impact. So on the other side, the company and management must also make a deliberate attempt to do this. Jamie, over to you. So companies taking a deliberate view on nurturing and embracing. Do you need to tweak anything in policies, company policies, to do this?
Yeah, so okay, I also want to add on to Lee Chu's comments, about the kind of jobs. I'm of opinion that any jobs that lines up to your passion and strength, whether it is line versus staff, and then specifically talking about women in tech, I think in this part of the world, we are 32%, higher than globally at 23%, but much can still be done. I would say more importantly, is how do we plug this leaky pipeline? So recently there was a report from NTU about the leaky pipeline, where they found that 58% of women actually continues onto the job continue into the STEM kind of job. Because I'm in advanced manufacturing, let me talk a little bit along that line. And then men actually 70%. So women remains underrepresented in the tech industry, mainly a few reasons. It really starts from uneven representation in universities and polytechnics, not having enough role models, the feeling of belonging and inadequate support at the workplace, especially in Asia, where women actually carry additional weight of shouldering all this caregiving, whether it's for our children or for our parents, and thus affects. So I would say much can be done at the industry government level to intervene at the early stage. Let our girls decide where their passion is. I always feel that passion is very important, because if you are passionate, it leads you to excel and it further motivates you. So let them pursue their passions in universities. And then as they move from universities to career, understanding the flexibility as they set up families, providing the flexibility. It doesn't mean that jobs doesn't get done. It gets done, but the flexibility. And this recent COVID pandemic has forced a lot of us to work from home, balancing work and actually working from home. And I think this will be a new normal, how we can provide that level of flexibility. Going forward, this COVID has really teach us that the work will change, how we work in future will change. And then of course, the acceleration programs that I mentioned about. It is important for us to look at acceleration programs. They find useful, and we have found useful that it helps them as well as to pursue their career.
Thanks, Jamie. Back to you, Gladys. You spoke earlier about the Asian environment, right? Organizations in Asia tend to be very hierarchical. Speak only when you're spoken to. You have a place, whichever function you are in, you have a place and role to play. How do we convince Asian management, Asian bosses, that through gender diversity, their businesses can grow?
Actually, Grace, before you jump onto that question, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, okay. So before you jump onto that question, I just want to chime in as well on what Lee Chu and Jamie said. I think Jamie fully aligned with you. Passion is really what makes the difference. And to also respond to Lee Chu's, there's no barriers to what women can do. Sky's the limit. When people ask me, what role should women play? Because traditionally, if you look at organizations today, a lot more female take on what I call quote unquote support function, corporate functions role. For example, HR, finance, even legal myself. That's because we are better at being meticulous. We are better at communication. These are all the core traits that women has that makes us better at the job, right? And for me, it's lack of opportunities today. We don't know what we don't know. If we be intentional about creating the opportunities at every layer within the organization, such that every layer has the right level of representation in terms of diversity. And I meant not just gender, right? It could be, race, it could be religion, it could be anything, just any form of diversity. The entire company will benefit from this mix of diversity. And I fully agree with what Jamie shared as well. Government needs to play their part by ensuring that the right policies are in place so that we can nurture the talent and identify them right from the get-go, starting from early education, such that the pipeline is ready. You can't build a pipeline overnight. It takes 10 to 20 years to build the next generation of pipeline and leaders. And when it comes to company policies, the flexibility to accommodate for different stages and different challenges of life that woman has to go through while ensuring that the career is still being supported, that's quite important. Because, men don't have to go through, childbirth and 4 months maternity, looking after the infant, the way that, I'm not undermining father's duty here, but the role that is played is quite different, right? And there are challenges that comes with it. So for example, right, a breastfeeding mom, right? You can't have a meeting that is continuously for 6 hours, right? No way, right? A breastfeeding mom will need to take a time in between to express and then come back to the meeting. So participants in such meetings should be aware of, hey, it's not that this person is not engaged. It's not that this person is not as involved because that person needs to step out of the meeting. It's just that these are the challenges that at a particular stage of a woman's life they need to deal with, and flexibility is the way to go, right? It will encourage more and more women to be bold in taking on more leadership role, knowing that these challenges will not only be recognized, but also be supported. I think businesses should also be encouraged to implement best practices, right? That include support of, for example, pay transparency, right? There are also enough articles and reports out there showing that women earn less than men because we generally don't negotiate. And we always felt that we need to work hard and prove ourselves before we go into the negotiation room and say, hey, boss, I need X pay increase because this is what my fellow man in the same level, same industry is getting, right? Whereas men, without hesitation, will go in and go, you need to give me this or else I'm out, right? So the way that men and women negotiate has also unfortunately caused some disadvantage in terms of pay transparency. Not only that, I mentioned earlier, the evaluation of recruitment, promotion, and also talent development system. We have to ensure that every step along the way, any form of biasness should be removed from the system. Sometimes we're not aware the way that, for example, we make selection process, the fact that we show a photo, right, of an individual that may have a perceived biasness when it comes to the recruitment manager, right? Recruitment should be based on merit, not based on gender, not based on looks. In the long run, further steps can be taken to ensure that we bridge the gap through, for example, wage audits, and also no negotiation policy implementation such that everyone is on the same level playing field, right? So just tagging on to what Li Chu and Jamie was mentioning earlier. Now, coming back to Grace, your point on culture, I'm just sharing my experience, yeah. When I joined Lazada 7 years ago, we were a 99% European company, right? I was the first female Asian hire that they hired.
Oh.
And I was amongst, Germans, French, Norwegian, Scandinavian. They are all 1.9 meter tall, blonde, and I felt really intimidated because I felt that physically I'm already small compared to these guys, and also culturally we're very different, and that really taught me how do I use my female strength in a male-dominated environment. For example, we are better at moderating crisis and getting people to look at different perspectives. And when you have a lot of male in the room, sometimes the ego takes over. And that's where, as a female, that strength comes at play. And that was in a European context, right? And in a European context, the way that we communicate is also quite different, right? European generally a bit more direct versus Asian, you're trying to preserve the relationship. So you tend to be less brutal, right? Or less direct with your statements. Now, over the years, we then got acquired by Alibaba in 2016, the first $1 billion transaction. And gradually, we have more culture mix into our corporate culture. And we have sort of the traditional European culture combined with our locally homegrown Southeast Asia culture. We have the Thai, we have the Vietnamese, we have the Philippines, we have the Indonesians, all of whom react differently and behave differently. For example, you can never scold someone in Thai directly because it's not in their culture to yell or scold. You have to say everything in a cordial, nice, collaborative way, right? So with and on top of that, with the Alibaba acquisition, we've also had Chinese infusion into our existing melting pot of cultures already today. I would say that even though I'm in Singapore, but the company culture is actually very diverse, right? We have, I think today we used to have over 100 nationalities in our workforce. I think today we're still hovering around 70 to 80 nationalities, and that it's a melting pot of culture which allows you to demonstrate and use different skill sets at different point in time. And I enjoy doing that, right? I enjoy doing that very much, whether it's managing downwards in terms of team or managing stakeholders outwards. I am a firm believer of embracing both hard and soft skills. As a professional, I mean, I'm hired in a professional capacity. They come to me so that they will not end up in jail. So I have to be very sharp in my legal advice, and I have to be very firm as to what is legal, what is illegal. In that aspect of my career and in my day-to-day work, I'm quite strict. In fact, if you speak to most people in the company, they will tell you that Gladys is very firm. If you know you are right, then don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong. You are the subject matter expert. You've done your homework. You know that this is in the best interest of the company. Then stand by it. The issue that I had previously, I had a lot of mansplaining situation, right? I could say the same thing, but the man would explain exactly what I said, and then everybody else in the room will go, "Oh, that's what you meant." And I'll say, "I just said that." I've been quite fortunate to have a seat on the table, which allows me to call out bad behavior, right? So, for example, if someone's trying to cut me out when I speak, I will be very firm and say, "Please let me finish." And making sure that your contribution is fully acknowledged in the presence of in the room, right? So that's one. I think two, being women, we do have our soft side, and that also has a place where we can use that to our advantage. I have never seen that soft side as a weakness, and we shouldn't. We are born with it, we should embrace it, and we should channel that as a strength in how we work with people within organization, and how we inspire, and what Jamie said, how do we pay it forward, right? How do we encourage more and more women to step forward despite the environment, right? I'm sure if you look at an American environment, it has their own set of challenges, European environment and Asian environment. But rather than focusing on environment, I would focus more on individual strengths and also gender strengths, and embrace that in your organization, and use it when the situation calls for it, right? And don't be shy, right? The first time you may sound a bit weird, like, oh, should I say, should I not say? I don't quite agree. But after you do it a few times and you build that confidence, you will know that you are doing the right thing and stick with it. Yeah.
Thanks, Gladys. That's very helpful. The list of to-dos and, you know, the individual strength, the gender strength. I think many people don't see that in that fashion. You know, they tend to see it as, you must support me, and then that's it. But I think it also comes from you. Yeah. So I think I want to go to the next section. That is, Li Chu earlier spoke about the many jobs that are available in you know, as a result of digital transformation. 1.2 million jobs that are available. So so in conjunction with this, and we also spoke about the sky's the limit. You shouldn't limit yourself to any kind of jobs. Nonetheless, what are some of the jobs that are opening up and that women can avail themselves to? Li Chu, do you want to have a go at that?
Yes, Grace, thank you so much. So I think if you look at, many non-tech roles and tech roles that are available, I mentioned earlier that when we did the alpha beta research, there are a number of in-demand skills that has been called out, whether it's in cybersecurity, cloud architecting. I saw in the chat window, questions, regarding how do we prevent leaks and how do we actually encourage, individuals who might have been in the workforce but are now outside of that cycle. And I thought maybe I'll start with that, because your earlier question was, what more can we do, right, to help improve the participation of women in tech? And this is something that's really very close to my heart, and also the reason why I decided to take up that position of president for Women in Tech with Singapore Computer Society. And I firmly believe that, it is important to develop and strengthen the quality of women in tech. So shining a light on the contribution of women through initiatives like the SG 100 Women in Tech that Grace, you were very much a part of, celebrates and also identifies role models that Gladys was talking about. I think it is imperative to encourage women to play an active role, in terms of mentoring, because sharing some of those experiences will become a force multiplier. And when you hear success stories and, answering the question on how do we encourage and how do we nurture, sharing success stories and learnings will often inspire other women and girls, to join the industry and to stay in the industry. And in many of our programs, and I'm quite sure across all the different organizations, there is a thought process of helping people to understand the importance of embracing not just diversity, but also inclusion and equality. But there is also, platforms that we can use to leverage to celebrate, that whole mentoring, nurturing, and caring process in terms of the individual's learning. And if I think about the roles that are available and how we can help, some of these women that might not be that familiar with tech to get into these in-demand jobs, I will say that, first of all, there are many training programs available. At the end of last year, in fact, AWS announced that by 2025, we want to help 29 million people grow their technical skills with free cloud computing training. And to that end, we already have about 500 free on-demand online courses made available to anyone who might be interested. They are available also in multiple languages, Bahasa Indonesia, of course, English, and then simplified and traditional Chinese. And as you think about also organizations that might be keen to foster non-tech individuals with tech skills, we work with them to look at customizing, training needs, whether it is in the field of machine learning or artificial intelligence. We did that with NTUC Learning Hub. We also did that with DBS. And in fact, last year, with DBS, we trained about 3,000 employees in AI ML. And then, we also believe that the nurturing of the young minds and getting their interests, like Jamie was saying earlier, get them into an interest for STEM is very important. So I think that to interest all the younger ones, first of all, you need to help them realize that it is not intimidating. And we encourage an interest through learning in a fun way. So we, in AWS last year, actually launched the world's first AWS Deep Racer Women's League. And it is an event that celebrates the encouragement of young women students to explore machine learning in a fun way. They can, kind of train their autonomous vehicle virtually, and then run them on simulated tracks. So very fun way of getting the young ones to learn about machine learning. So I would say that, there are a lot of roles available that is tech related. There are many who are in non-tech wanting to go into tech. So don't be intimidated, because there are training mechanisms available. There are organizations that is very willing to help adult learners to come on board and to contribute in that way as well. So I'll just pause there and hand the time back to you.
Actually, if I may, Grace.
Yes.
So I think for us, tech is an enabler. In itself, it has no purpose if you don't attribute a purpose and a meaning to how you use tech, right? So I just sort of chime on what Li Chu was saying. How do you get more women to switch to tech? I see it quite differently. I see it as, how do you get women to think outside the box and reskill such that they are ready for the digital world, right? That's because women historically has been more involved or more represented in industries like, service, restaurant, hospitality. And because of that, and the recent COVID, you can see that the female-run businesses took the worst hit in light of the COVID situation. By nature of percentage of representation in the service-based industry, women generally have higher representation. Now, how do we then help them pivot that traditional sort of industry and skill set into a digital world, right? And that is by leveraging technology. It's about knowing how to use what technology to achieve the objectives that you want. I certainly didn't love coding when I joined Lazada. I mean, confession, I love shopping, right? And I thought I was joining a shopping company. And I was like, this is the best job on earth because I get to shop every day in a company. And I'll be doing, I'll be living a perfect life because I'll be shopping is my hobby. So, being able to do a hobby every day of your life, it's going to be awesome, right? So coming back to sort of those women's businesses, how do we help them pivot, right? Similar to what Li Chu was mentioning, today, women has been disadvantaged on many fronts, either access to education, access to capital, and also in terms of knowledge, right? We don't have that much of exposure, even to ICT infrastructure or even supply chain, right? Generally, these are more available, or rather from in terms of the time. If you look at the time that women get involved versus the time that men was involved in all these segments of the economy, generally they have longer run rate, right, than women. So we had to run faster because we need to catch up, right, with the men in order to compete at the same level playing field. So naturally, there's a lot more hurdles for women to overcome, but that doesn't mean that we are locked up from that playing field, right? It's just that the initial leap is going to be a big leap, but after that, the world is at your fingertips, right? You get the same access to tool, you get the same access to capital that allows you to grow your business whichever way you want it, right? So Lazada also offer similar free training courses for potential sellers in certain markets, and usually we partner with either government or educational institutions to provide those trainings and also to ensure that we have enough reach to the various segment of the society. And the sellers are taught how to sort of sign up online, right? How do you be an entrepreneur? Today, if you ask any 17, 18-year-old, in Thailand and Bangkok, you ask what job would you like to be when you graduate? I want to be an entrepreneur like Elon Musk, right? Nobody wants to take a proper office job anymore. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Particularly, we did quite a number of these projects in Thailand, in villages and rural areas, to really open up the ecosystem to benefit the underprivileged and the disadvantaged, right? So that they are not discriminated by lack of access. We use this training to train the sellers to use basic features, and the government will step in to find enablers for them as well. So everyone plays a part, and the government will match while we provide the content. We also partnered with Google last November, to provide free digital skills training to our online sellers. And these courses are available to all merchants through our what we call Lazada University portal. And for small businesses, we also have a program with Google on Grow with Google website. And they get free access to short courses, interactive mini courses via Google Primer app. And our merchants can also access co-created content on Lazada University and participate in the sessions. And these are either pre-recorded or live stream. And due to the recent pandemic, we've also rolled out a series of stimulus and incentive packages, which include, free onboarding, some dedicated assistance in terms of, zero commission. We know that everyone is hit. We want to play our part in helping the small SMEs so that they can survive, right? They are the lifeline of our economy. And those are some of the additional steps that we can take, particularly in these interesting times. And until everyone gets vaccinated and the borders are open, these challenges remains.
Thanks, Gladys and Li Chu. I think that your response was a good one, because I think we have an audience, a participant, Yo Ian, who asked about stay-home moms who have been outside, who worked and then left for, you know, for family, and now they want to come back. How do they come back? So the thing would be they should go for the training, right? And then after going for the training, then they will be able to get the jobs that they want. I think there need to be a space, there need to be a space where I think I'm getting some interactions. Anyway, they need to get the training, and then after the training, they can then find the jobs. We have another question from Talia Teo, and she refers to the leaky pipeline that Jamie was talking about just now. So women are dropping out of the sector in their mid-career to focus on personal and family obligations. How would the organizations retain or attract them back to work? Jamie, you want to have a go first?
Yeah, I think there's a few aspects. First thing, if we can afford to make sure we don't let them go, because offering them flexibility, I think that's something that can be open for discussion. In HP, we do allow discussion, whether it's going on a part-time basis. So first thing, I would rather not let the person go and see whether we can work out something. But if the person do have to go for family commitments, I think it's good for the individual to also stay connected. And if they like to come back, to actually reach back out, and also look at, maybe it's also a point to think about, do I want to do something different? So there is a lot of mid-career, there's a lot of courses nowadays that's supported by the government, and the new skill sets like data analytics, like some of this cloud computing, they are offering a lot of these classes. It's still a time to think about, maybe I can upskill and learn something new, so that when I rejoin the company, I bring forth a new skill sets. So there's a few ways that you can increase your value. And from a company, first thing, if we can work out some flexibility. If not, let's see when the time comes, let's have a discussion. I would encourage everybody to continue to look at upskilling and reskilling. I wanted to add a point, you know, you've heard about this popular estimate. 65% of children entering primary school will ultimately end up working in completely new jobs that don't exist. In such rapidly evolving landscape, we need to be agile and continue to upskill and reskill. Through our careers, how many reskilling we've done. So this is something that I like to encourage everyone, whether you are stay home for now and plan to return, so upskilling and reskilling.
Okay, some of the jobs that we all talk about, AI, machine learning, data analytics, coding, they all involve some technical skill or technical degree background that you need to have before you go for this. So if you are really non-tech and you want to get into the tech sector, what are the jobs that are available and how would they get in, you know, without this tech background? Li Chu?
Yeah, so, you know, within a tech organization, there are a number of non-tech roles. And I would say that, you know, like, for example, when you are in, you know, a sales environment, what's more important is that you understand technology and how it connects to the customer, and how it will deliver a good outcome for the customer. And in AWS, you know, we have a leadership principle called learn and be curious. When we do our recruitment, we, you know, we go on the basis that we want a diverse team, and a diverse team means a team with different backgrounds, with different nationalities. We don't hire just people who are trained in tech. For one, I majored in philosophy, but I've been in the tech world for the last 30 over years. That has not stopped me from learning about tech, learning about how, you know, technology is an enabler, like what Gladys was talking about. And there are many skills on top of technical skills that are important and critical. For example, you know, when we think about critical thinking skills, when we think about project management skills, these are skills that needs to wrap around technology to offer a compelling proposition for the customer because, as we work backwards from the customer, what's more important is, first of all, having that level of appreciation of what they are going through in terms of their mission statements and what they want to achieve and what outcomes. So I don't think that, in tech company, there are only tech roles. And Gladys also mentioned that earlier. So, when we go on the path of looking at all the possibilities, let's look at technology in a multifaceted way, enabling multidisciplines, and therefore, how can we, as half of the population, make a difference to that?
Okay. Gladys, you want to have a go at that question?
Yeah, I think the benefit of being the last person is I can say I concur with my fellow panelists. No, I just add on. The whole theme of upskilling, reskilling, and Jamie, don't let that person go is quite important. So having flexible scheduling, more inclusive work policies, better childcare services, better parental leave can really help to retain the talent. And when they feel that their work is supportive of their life, people are generally more committed to their work, right? So that's first. And on the multifaceted approach and multidisciplinary, I fully agree. If you're going for a tech role, in a sense that if you're going for a role that requires technical skills, such as coding, then that is basic fundamental skills, right? And you should acquire those skills before thinking of applying to those kind of roles. But like what Li Chu said, there are so many roles in an organization that is non-tech based, but requires a deep passion and understanding of how tech works. Because you need to understand the end-to-end delivery of, for example, a service or product through technology and how that impact the end consumer. But that doesn't mean that, you have to know how to code, or that doesn't mean that, I have to start opening a, GitHub account to start reading, lines of codes. It's not going to happen, right? If you're not trained technically in those areas. But what's more important is today, as more and more manual tasks are being replaced through automation, it's even more critical to build these non-tech skills, whether it is judgment, whether it's decision making, whether it is artistic skills, creative skills, even communication skills, soft skills. All these soft skills, the requirements to be very good at these soft skills get heightened, right? Because the rest of the manual automation work has been replaced by machine, right? And for that, I actually feel that this is a perfect space for a woman to shine, because our ability to look at things in a more holistic way, and also have what I call a heart, where we are able to care more for the society, for our people, that these kind of traits will really shine through. And that's something that I feel that if you're looking at stepping into the tech world for the first time, I think first you need to know what does the job requires, what is job requirement, right? If the job requires a technical degree and you don't, then go get it first, right? The other comment that I generally get is that, with all this job displacement arising from machines, has pivoted the technical skills, right? What I've learned 30 years ago is no longer relevant to this new job category. But hey, guess what, right? With new job categories created, there's always going to be ancillary jobs to support this new job category, right? Do you think that the AI scientists can work on their own without an ecosystem of other type of professions supporting them? Absolutely not. So stay relevant and evolve with time, right? There was also one question like, okay, sometimes women have to take a time off to care for the family, and then they want to return to workforce. during the time when you are away, stay relevant. And it will benefit you when you decide to switch your full-time mom to a full-time employment role. Don't lose track in terms of what the world is developing, and I think that is something that I would encourage everyone to continue that learning spirit, no matter where you are in your life, because that will really be very helpful in the future.
Well, thank you, Gladys. I think we've come to the end of the webinar. We are just slightly 1 minute past 1 o'clock. But thank you very much to the panelists, Lee Chu, Jamie, and Gladys. I think we have gone beyond the initial topic of gender diversity impacts business growth. I think we have now, gone beyond, how do you encourage women to go back to work and how do you retain women within the workforce. So I think for all of us here today, the concept to take away is that the sky is the limit. Do not let anything stand in your way if you want to get into the tech industry. If you want a tech job, a technical job, get qualified. If you do not want if you want a non-tech role, then there are other areas to go to. Like Gladys, who is a lawyer, right? So there are other roles in a tech company that requires different kinds of backgrounds. So thank you very much to my panelists again, and thank you to all the participants who have listened in. We appreciate you. The recording of this webinar will be up on the SCS website in a few days. Do stay tuned, and we hope you have a good day today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.